So after another good day for Daryl Mitchell and Tom Blundell, it's time for Ask George. So George, what did you make of day one at Trent Bridge?
I'm a little worried about New England already. It's just sometimes it's a bit simplistic. So today, they were trying to get wickets with every ball. That sounds great, yeah? Sounds brilliant. And sometimes that's a bit simplistic. Sometimes you've got to bowl back of a length, bowl dry, frustrate batters, get them to make mistakes. And I thought England conceded quite a lot more runs than they maybe should have done. I don't know, it feels a bit naive, but it's such fun to watch that it feels churlish to say it.
Well, first question today comes from Sushant, who asks, shouldn't winning the toss and choosing to bowl in tests lead to a mandatory concussion check?
No, I mean, it wasn't an unreasonable decision. Both sides would have done it. It did look quite green, and the pitch here doesn't deteriorate. I thought it was a reasonable decision. Except I'm looking at the scoreboard now, it doesn't look like it. You know, people have such strong feelings about the toss. We've only got two options. They're nearly always both just about justified. There's sometimes one of them seems really silly, but not very often. And yet people go, ridiculous. Anyway, that was a 55-45 toss, maybe 60-40 toss, in favour of what England did, I'd say. No, I've got no issue with it.
Scott McKenzie asks, are we going to see Parkinson in the third test? Leach just isn't dangerous and doesn't keep the runs down.
It's day one. That's pretty harsh, I think. He didn't have the best of days, but it wasn't a day when a spinner would expect to get a lot of bowling. Look, you're right. For most of the day, he went for fours and over, just dragged it back right at the end of the day. It's not ideal. It's not what a Graham Swan would have done, but he's not Graham Swan. So would Parkinson have done better? Would he? I mean, really, is there much evidence to suggest he would have done from Lords? I thought Leach bowled all right. They took him on and they won. That happens. I don't know that Parkinson would necessarily have done any better.
And continuing on a spinner theme, Stuart Drysdale asks, do you think Mowing Ali or Adil Rasheed will come into the test side this summer? And will Leach be affected by this chat?
This summer seems unlikely, but who knows? A funny old game. I mean, there's quite a lot of red ball cricket now. Look, it could happen, but I don't think that's on the cards, really. I'd be a bit surprised, pleasantly surprised. I think if it's going to happen, it'll probably be in Pakistan. You know, Adil in particular, I think the last time he played a test, first-class game was a test in May 2019. It's quite a long time, so I think he would need to build up to it a little bit. A Mowing would need some games to do, surely. Slightly different skills. So, I don't think that's on the cards right now. Will it bother Leach? Well, to some extent, it's a competitive business. And while you want people to feel secure, I think it comes with the territory that you're always competing for your place. And he's no stranger to that. And I think he's a lot tougher than people think. He's fought against adversity his whole career, his whole life, really. And he's done it bloody well. So he'll be all right.
Richard Anderson asks, what happened to the blokes who were fielding at Lords?
Good question. Look, I've got some sympathy for that first miss drop. So you're in the slips and you're encouraged to go for everything. Go for everything. Believe you can do it. So he goes for a catch. It's clearly Joe Root's and he misses it. I don't know. You want him to go for it. Does it mean the slips are in the wrong place? Well, maybe a bit. But basically, he just went for one that was going straight to Joe Root. I think those things happen. I would be more worried about later when he didn't go for one, which went between him and Johnny Bairstow. And then Joe Root missed one too, didn't he? So, yeah, it's a really disappointing day. I mean, I've never seen a side catch everything that goes their way for any concerted period of time. But yeah, it did seem that all the positivity of Lords melted away pretty quickly. I think it's too early to be drawing conclusions.
And finally, Dave asks, what would you do to help England's pace bowlers?
Dave, what does he mean?
Well, he recommends, he said it would seem sensible to allow them to bowl to toughen their bodies up, but the focus seems to be on doing what?
Okay, sorry. So I was just clarifying that. So he means long term, well, I think we've got to look at it again. I think maybe some of the exercises they're doing aren't working, weighted squats and what have you. I think we probably need the help of science to look at why this is happening. And, they would say they've done this. I would argue they haven't particularly. And I think we've got to look at the things like the demands made of young bowlers, well, actually the lack of demands made of young bowlers, the restrictions placed upon them. I think increasingly physios, coaches tell me that they want their bowlers to bowl. And, Jimmy Anderson's obviously bowled a lot. Look, I think there's always going to be a danger that injuries will occur, stretch fractures will occur. Bowling is not a particularly natural thing to do. But the epidemic of injuries, particularly stress fractures, should be sending warning alarm signs to us. And I think that it would be foolish not to learn from it. To actually answer the question, I think that bowlers probably need to bowl more. And that piece I did yesterday about the age effect was quite revealing, because it suggested that the bowlers' best ways of developing, succeeding, were to avoid the pathway. Now, that again is a worry. So there's almost too much there, and I don't really feel qualified to have strong opinions. But you would definitely want to research a lot more, be a lot less certain in some of the things you're doing. And it would seem to be that bowling, not gym, is the answer. What I would say is that you look at Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, they're not big muscle-laden fellas. They're fit, obviously, and they're lithe and slim. But a lot of modern fast bowlers look as if they could, make a living as a boxer. And maybe they're different things. Maybe those are very, very different skills. I remember one of their teammates once saying to me about Stuart Broad, anyway, he doesn't pull any muscles, he hasn't got any, which is obviously not true. But you know what I mean? He's not built like some fast bowlers look fantastically muscular. I mean, Chris Trent would be a terrific example. And obviously he was unfit for quite a frustrating part of his career with all that talent. So that is one thing they might want to look at.